And here I am with Sammi Turano. Hope I said that right.
Yep,
And
you
she
did.
is going to tell us her story.
Sure. So my name is Sammy. I'm 40 years old. I live in Pennsylvania State College area. I'm originally from New York, and from kindergarten the end of second grade, I lived in Queens, New York, and then I moved to Brewster, New York in third grade, which is where I met Denise, my illustrator for my book, one of my closest, dearest friends. And it was an interesting time in my life growing up. I mean, I was bullied, of course, like many other kids. And like I said, I look back on it now, I don't really dwell on it because we all grew up, we all get along now, thanks to Facebook. So I really don't dwell on that as much anymore. And then I went to the college in New Rochelle, which is in New Rochelle, New York. And it was a difficult time, but not because of school or bullying or anything like that. I wasn't really bullied or anything. School was school. I mean, I had my ups and downs in classes, but the week I left for I started college. My first week of college is when 9/11 happened. It was my first time away from home. It was a scary time. I couldn't get in touch with any of my family. My dad was NYPD at the time. Couldn't get in touch with him. Thankfully, he was okay, but he was down there for 3 months helping out, digging bodies, lost three cops of his that he knew. It was a sad, difficult time. My CYO coach, softball coach, died in there, and one of my friends' cousins died, and it was just a time in my life where it just forced me to grow up. I was only 17 years old at the time, and I knew nothing about the world at the time. So it just caused me to grow up and look at the world in a different way. So I would say that was difficult and very scary at the same time, but it caused me to be stronger as well. And then throughout my years of college, I did several internships. One of them, as you know, was with Geraldo Rivera, who is one of the most iconic journalists of all time. And that was probably one of the best experiences I had in college, even though they were all incredible, because not only did he inspire me and act as a mentor, as did his entire staff, but he also helped me with schoolwork. I don't know if you remember the Willowbrook scandal that happened in 1970s, where this Willowbrook was a mental institution where people were being abused and had such a horrific living conditions. He jumped the fence and exposed everything that happened and helped everyone out. And I had to, yes, it was amazing. And I had to write about an evil event that happened in the world. So I wrote about that. Let me interview him. He gave me original footage from everything. It was just absolutely incredible. So, and we continue to I keep in touch with not a little bit with him. I actually interviewed him a few years later he was on Celebrity Apprentice. He remembered me. His wife remembered me. His wife still has the baby blanket my mom made his daughter because his wife was pregnant with their daughter, the youngest daughter at the time. They still have the baby blanket. We still stayed in touch, and I still stay in touch with many of the people who I worked with on the show, including Geraldo's wonderful brother. And then after graduation, it was hard finding a job. I worked retail. I worked on Wall Street for a little bit because I had a political science journalism degree and I wanted to go a little bit with the law and combine it with the journalism, but decided I hated law. So then I moved up to State College and I was looking for jobs here and there. I did a couple of little projects, but then my friend Sharon, who was another mentor of mine through one of the projects I was working on, told me about TV Grapevine. And she's like, we don't need any writers now, but as soon as we do, I'll let you know. And I'm thinking, never gonna hear from you again, ever. So 6 months later, she texts me and says, if you're still interested, Al, that's the guy who owned a business before me, was my former business partner. He's since retired. And she's like, Al wants you to cover So You Think You Can Dance. It starts in half an hour. I'm like, uh, and she just, yeah, exactly. I was like, the heck am I gonna do? Yes. So I poured myself a glass of wine and I watched So You Think You Could Dance for the first time ever. And basically, I had to recap and review everything that was happening. I handed it in. They loved what I wrote, and I was covering that on a weekly basis. Then I was given America's Got Talent to cover, which is why that recipe is it. Both recipes are inspired by my book. And then I was just before I knew it, he was giving me people to interview, and I was interviewing celebrities. I was on the red carpet. I was on set visits, and I had all sorts of different things. And then in 2017, Al decided to retire because at this time we were business partners working on the site. It's basically him, me, and a couple of writers. And then when he decided to retire, he turned everything over to me. And now the rest is history with that. And sadly, Sharon since passed. She died in 2009, and it's very suddenly, and it took a real big toll on me because she was my mentor and she helped me. Without her, I wouldn't be talking to you today. It was just very sad. And yeah, so that's where my story is right now.
So, um, how come they asked you to write the journalism? Had you been in journalism in college?
Yes, I have a degree in journalism,
From which college?
college in New Rochelle.
Oh, okay. New Rochelle. Okay. And then, so how did you become the owner of the company that you have now?
Well, Al and I were running it together for several years, and then he decided he wanted to retire in 2017. And he says, "I want you to run the website now. It's all yours. You can do whatever you want with it." And he just passed it on to me.
Wow. Give me a list of people that you interviewed, just like
Okay, how many do you want?
about 10 or 20.
Sure. Okay, Donald Trump, Brett Michaels, Meghan Markle, Apollo Odo. Oh gosh, Geraldo. Oh God, I'm like so fun. This is so
Shows,
funny.
shows.
Yep, shows the cast of Psych, the cast of Suit, the cast of Fairly Legal. Let's see. Like I can't do this under pressure. It's like ah. And I'm gonna be doing the cast of Monk in a couple of weeks for the Monk movie. I know. I'm so excited about
I
that.
love Monk.
Me too, me too. It's amazing. I interviewed the America's Got Talent. I interviewed the entire Trump family. So
Well,
yes.
okay, that's good. I just wanted a list. Then also, can you tell me about why, how you started this cookbook and when you wrote it, and just tell me more about what made you think of doing a cookbook.
Okay, well, I was originally going to start as a memoir for the 15th anniversary of me working with TV Grapevine. And I'm like, couldn't get what I wanted in words. And I kept writing, deleting, writing, deleting. And I'm like, there's some stuff I really don't want people to know about myself. And I was telling my mom about it. And I was writing down recipes for one of my friends or something. I don't exactly remember what it was. She's like, why don't you write it into a cookbook? Tell your stories about your journalism stuff, write it into a cookbook. And then I had been reading what's his name? Oh God, Ross Matthews, his book, Name Drop, where he basically does something similar. He's writing his memoir, and then he'll had a little recipe at the end that he make for Golden Globes parties and stuff like that. I was like, I'm gonna do it in my own way. So mine's more of a cookbook, whereas his is more of a memoir. But I still tell my stories, and then I put my favorite family recipes that I have. Like I have the macaroni and cheese recipe, which is from Big Bang Theory because Penny always made the mac and cheese, but that has a special story of my grandfather about it. The chocolate recipe for Dancing with the Stars is my mom's special chocolate recipe that she makes every holiday. So they're all connected in some way. And if it doesn't necessarily connect, I somehow connect it to something, the name of the recipe to something that connects to my family, like the Unsolved Mysteries Midori Sour that my grandmother and I watched Unsolved Mysteries together all the time. Midori Sour, my friend Jacqueline and I drink together all the time when we're in LA. It's our favorite drink. And so I'm like, okay, I'll unsolve Midori Sour. So it's just like all connections to people I love, recipes I love, and my stories.
Did you cook with your mother when you were young?
Absolutely, yes, from the time I could stand. Barely. Like sometimes like she was carrying me, she let me put like the little spices in, she let me mix everything. Then as I got older, she let me chop the recipes, she let me plan meals. And the same thing with my grandma Bonnie, who lived with us up until she died when I was 10 years old. So I would go, we had it when I lived in Queens, we had this house that had her little apartment downstairs. So I would go down to her kitchen and we would cook together and she would show me stuff. We would watch Unsolved Mysteries or Mr. Rogers and we would make little meals, desserts, stuff like that.
And then um what is your lineage like? Italian? Like what's your family?
Italian, Lithuanian, and partially Polish. We just found out thanks to Ancestry.
Okay, good. Was your grandmother Italian or she was all three of
My
those?
maternal grandmother, my paternal grandfather on my father's side, yes.
Okay. All right. And because your last name is Italian, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, good. And now tell me about your animals and why and how many you have and why you have so many.
We just love animals. I mean, I see them, they're all rescues, so they're all so special to us. I mean, Sophie was a rescue. She's the black dog on the cover of my book, and she's 10 years old now. She's going blind because she's diabetic, but she's the sweetest little thing. Opal's a new puppy that we got. She's 8 months old, and she's just like a little zoomy, fun, happy little thing, and greets me every time I come home. They both greet me. And then Buffy is my 15-year-old Tortie cat who is always by my side. She actually can't see it, but she's sitting with me right now. And then Benson is our black cat, and McNabb is our gray stripy cat. And they all have pop culture names.
I love that. That's perfect. So tell me about the grapevine that you do. Like, do you write it or do you do it live or what format is it in?
It is a written website, so I do TV reviews, interviews, stuff like that. But I also record interviews on Zoom like this, and then I post them on my parents were together when I grew up. They're since separated, but I have a brother who is 4.5 years younger than me, and my sister is 6 years younger than me. So I'm the oldest of three.
Okay. All right. And what do you like best about your job?
I just love that it's different every day. I cover different news every day. Each TV show I review is different every day. I interview different people all the time, so it's always a new adventure. Oh, you can also mention that I'm a personal trainer too.
Of what?
I am work with Planet Fitness and I'm a personal trainer. I currently have 122 clients ranging from the ages of 13 to 81.
You work with them consistently?
Yeah, sometimes I write them a program, teach them what they have to do, and they go off on their own. But I have a core group of at least 50 people I work with on a consistent basis.
Oh my gosh. So what is your title on that? What would you be called? A personal physical trainer?
Personal trainer, fitness
Personal
trainer.
fitness. Okay, that's the word I was looking for. Oh, good. And what would you like to tell women about realizing their dreams, like sort of a cap on the story at the end that you give advice to people how to pursue their dreams and not let anything get in the way.
You never know where it's going to come from. You never know when that big moment is going to come. So keep looking for it. And when you feel it's right, just go for it.